Have you ever seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? There's a line in the movie that Al Pacino says, and the line is, if everyone thinks one thing, I say bet the other way. And that's really important with today's topic of critical thinking and stop being a sheep. A lot of people are human sheep, and these days we see a lot of it. I see a lot of it all the time, where trends, people are just following each other, wearing the same stuff, cutting their hair the same way. It's obviously a part of human behavior, but it's gotten to a point now where I see so many clones of each other that there's no individual free thought, or there's very limited critical thinking. So I thought I'd discuss my ideas on the topic and offer some thoughts and suggestions on how to become a better critical thinker and how to grow out of this sheep mentality. So to start off with, I want to discuss what we're up against and what are we really challenged with in society now that there's so many factors influencing how we think as individuals. And it's a massive part of being a man to be able to critically think about things in order to make decisions, especially when we're either leading a family, leading a business, a household, and people we're responsible for are looking up to us for decision making. And I think being decisive is linked 100% to your critical thinking skills. So what are we up against? Well, marketing is a massive challenge that we're up against every day. We decide what we're going to eat, what we're going to wear, where we're going to go, where we're going to spend our money that we work for. A lot of that is influenced by marketing. A lot of the marketing comes through social media. You know, you've got your phone sitting here, you get notifications with all of the influence that's trying to convince you to do whatever suits the companies and the people that are benefiting from how you make your decisions and what you think. And what you think is good and what you think is bad and what you think is tasteful and what you think is beneficial. Your thoughts are definitely going to benefit companies and people that can benefit from what you think. So social media is a massive influencer of that. Pop culture. There's so many ties to big companies with music artists. Fashion industry is tied in with the music industry. There's so much that you can link with pop culture. If you look at trends, a lot of trends start with celebrities. A lot of celebrities are influencers. And now we see social media influencers that aren't even celebrities, but in a way they are celebrities because they're on these apps. And I've never been one to follow trends. In some ways, I get on the bandwagon of a trend once it's phased out and nobody's interested anymore. I'd rather be doing things that I genuinely am interested in. And I've always been like that. I've never been one to say, I've almost been one to say the opposite, much like Al Pacino in Glengarry Glen Ross. If everyone thinks one way, I say bet the other way. I don't think I wore jeans until I was 15. Everyone was wearing denim jeans, but I didn't like them. I was wearing cargo pants, and no one liked that. No one liked that sort of fashion or lack of fashion. But at the time as a kid, I was thinking freely already. But I noticed a lot of my peers, everyone was getting on whatever the trend was. And I was saying, you know what? I don't like trends. I like to be an individual. And that's where all of these societal norms and societal pressures come in. Because if you want to be a part of society, if you want to make friends, a lot of that is looking at people that you're similar to. That a lot of people become friends with people because they've got something in common. But I don't think you've necessarily got to have something in common with someone in order to be a part of a tribe beyond a value system. If you've got the same values, doesn't really matter how you dress, how you talk, where you like to go and eat. All of these things are really just shallow. But in society, they're made to appear that they're valued. And a lot of our beliefs and our views and our thoughts do come from our family, our friend circles that we develop at a young age, where we work, where we go to school. All of these environments, sometimes they're opposing what we naturally want to do, what we're naturally interested in, or what we're inspired by. So the first step to really thinking about where does your critical thinking come from? Where does your idea system, where do you and who you are come from? What's the origin of your beliefs? And if you get any particular belief, where does that belief come from? What is the origin of this belief that you have? Do you think that coffee is good because you saw everyone drinking coffee around you? Or do you think it's good because you actually like it and you feel a benefit from it? Do you enjoy the taste of coffee? Or do you just not? I remember when I had my first beer, I didn't really like it. I don't think many people actually like the flavor of a beer when they first have it because it's very bitter, especially if you have it at a young age in your late teens. In Australia anyway, it's legal. If you have that beer, it's going to be bitter. You're not really going to be drinking it a lot. You're going to be sipping at it. And then as you get older, you acquire the taste. It's an acquired taste. And there are a lot of acquired tastes that you may not have been interested in if it wasn't a societal norm. Or even if it was frowned upon, you might not be interested in, or vice versa. Some of the things that are frowned upon are of interest to certain people. So it can go both ways. And what are the influencing factors to you having these beliefs? Are you influenced by your family? Are you influenced by social media? Are you influenced by movies? And it's okay to get influenced by things, but it's good to know the origin of it. So then you can see, I started watching these movies when I was a kid and I liked these hairstyles. So I started doing my hair like that. No harm, as long as you know where it's come from. But if you think you've always been an individual and you've created these ideas for yourself from the beginning, it's good to know where you got them from and why you've got them. If you listen to music, is that music really the best music that you can listen to? Do you just go and listen to the radio, or do you have your own music that you download? Where did you get the interest in this music? Because is the message good in the music that you're listening to? Is this information you're getting from this music good? Questioning everything is the way you get to certainty. Again, do you really like what you like? Or are you just doing it because you're part of something, because you're part of a community, because you're part of a society? Are you just being a follower, a sheep, because you have to? I'll be honest, I never liked Drake. I do not like Drake's music. I think it sucks. And that's my personal opinion. And I see a lot of people at parties, at bars, and whenever Drake comes on, they're just like, oh yeah, that's so good. And I'm like, this sucks. And it's unpopular opinion. I think the beats are good, but Drake, if you just listen to that as an a cappella, he sucks as a rapper. And maybe you can send me some links to some Drake songs that are actually decent, but I think he sucks, and I think he'll suck forever. But Drake aside, are you a critical thinker in all areas of your life? Are there some things that you think about deeply, and are there some things that you're a sheep in? Because just because you're a sheep in one aspect of your life, you might actually be a good critical thinker in other aspects. Socially, you might be a massive follower, but in your career, in your job, you really think about what you're doing and you really investigate and work out what the best solution is for your expertise. And have you got first-hand experience? If you've just got opinions based on what you've been told, what you've heard, what you assume, then you might be wrong and you don't even know it because you've never experienced it yourself. It's like, let's say everyone tells you that the country of Thailand is a great place to visit, and you've never been there. I've never been there. Let's say everybody tells me, go to Thailand, go to Thailand. It's so good. Everything's cheap. The food's great. The nightlife's great. The weather's awesome. They got beaches, everything you want. But I've got an idea to go somewhere else. Do I really like the idea of going to Thailand? Does Thailand have everything I want to offer? Or is there a better option for me to go somewhere else first? Do you give in to the mentality of everybody goes to Thailand, everybody enjoys Thailand? Or do you say, you know what, I want to go to Mozambique? Whatever country you think is ideal for you, are you leaving that experience on the table in order to be able to say in a social setting, I know what you're talking about, this island of Thailand? Just in order to be part of something. If everyone goes to Thailand, why do you have to go there? I don't think you have to go there if you don't want to. Go wherever you want to go. Create that idea of, I've experienced this and I know what I'm talking about, then I will go. But if you've never been there, if you've never experienced it, sure, you should experience it in order to say, I've been to Thailand, I like it or not. But don't base your decisions on whether something is good or bad off someone else's experience. First-hand experience is important. Some things you don't have to have first-hand experience. If somebody tells you being burgled and broken into is a horrible thing, you don't necessarily have to have that happen in order to imagine how bad that would be. And vice versa, having good experiences too. You don't have to experience something good to know that it's good. But there are many experiences that you do have to have for yourself. And if you don't have them yourself, then you really don't know. And if you've got this preconceived idea about a thing that you haven't got firsthand experience, have you sought out that experience? Have you tried to make time to book a trip to that country that you want to find out what it's like? You know, there's certain countries that people say are dangerous. I've seen videos of guys going to Afghanistan and doing business there and having a trip there and enjoying their time there when heaps of people have said, don't go to Afghanistan. You know, these are sometimes pressures from society to have a certain opinion when in reality the opposite is going to serve you better. Now, there is influence that comes from the mainstream. And this is the main source of, this is the main thing that we're fighting. And we're up against this all the time, which is the mainstream information. And everyone's often told you've got information at your fingertips. Information's easy to access. But the mainstream's influence on society has never been greater, because at your fingertips, you've got the phones, you've got the computers, you've got all the technology, and it's in your ears. You're looking at it all the time, and it's surrounding you. This is where these ideas are really constantly pushed onto you, and subconsciously you're just buying into it and not knowing an alternative. There we go. I don't need the phone. So if you've got this information at your fingertips, why do you have it at your fingertips? Because it's been put there. Because somebody said, here, this is a song that you will listen to because it is the song that we have. You're given the idea that you have a plethora of options when really the options are limited. If you've ever gone on a streaming website or you've got an app where you watch movies, it gives you a list of all the movies that it wants to give you, because those movie producers, those companies have paid for their movies to be there. When you type something in an internet search, the first page is going to be not necessarily the most applicable information to you, but it is going to be the information that the mainstream wants you to see and the information that people have paid to put in front of your eyes. You're given options, and it's preventing you from digging deeper and finding all the options. So if you go, for example, and have you ever searched for best recipe for pasta sauce? You're going to get recipes, but are you going to get the best recipes? The best recipe is going to be from a grandmother in the middle of Italy, in the middle of the mountains, in a tiny little town with no phone and no computer. And she's going to have the best recipe. The best recipe isn't going to be on a food website on your phone on page 1 of Google. It might be, but this is where critical thinking comes into it. And so you've got to say, all right, I'll try this recipe, but I'll also talk to people, and I'll also look in books, and I'll explore alternative information and experiment myself. I will try and make something up and find out what I really think the best recipe for pasta sauce is. Don't just rely on one source which is given to you because somebody's paid to be in front of your eyes and in your ears. These thought processes only come when you choose to explore beyond what is given to you, your fingertips, because it's very convenient. It's super convenient to stop thinking. It's so convenient to say, well, I don't need to think because this is there. You don't even need to cook anymore. You've got Uber Eats. You've got websites that can just deliver food to your door. If you limit yourself to what's given to you, then you're not going to be able to explore all the options. And that's all I'm saying. You want to be able to explore all the options so you find exactly what's good for you. And another example is AI. AI is choosing things for you when you ask it to be creative. Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use these tools for creativity? Or do you use them as a computer, as something that can do things faster than you can? These are the things that are put at your fingertips to stop you from thinking. That's how you get smarter. The way you get more intelligent is by thinking about your experiences, experiencing things, thinking about it, altering what you want to do, refining your ideas, and then putting them into effect and actually doing things. Instead of saying, I don't need to think because this thinks for me. If you're trying to work something out that is somewhat time consuming, like maths, if you're trying to figure out, okay, I want to add up all these expenses and I want to find out what the best budget would be in order to afford these things. If you're trying to work out a budget, for sure, put all your expenses in an AI and say, spit out a budget for me. Easy. I wrote all my notes on a whiteboard, and instead of wasting more time putting those notes into Word or into a PowerPoint, I took a photo, I put it in the AI, and I said, turn this into a PowerPoint for me. And it did. I don't need to waste my brain power on tasks like that because I want to do the thinking. I want to do the creativity. I want to be able to actually use my brain to create things, because fulfillment comes from creation. Creating things and being responsible for outcomes is fulfilling. And sure, some people like to do the time-consuming tasks, and people get excited from working out complicated maths. But the real fulfillment is from creating things, not from wasting your time on transcribing ideas from written form to digital. Now, within the marketing and these apps and technologies that we're up against, these are the challenges, the real challenging things that we've got to overcome, because there's a lot of pseudo satisfaction and pseudo fulfillment that these apps and businesses and companies and corporations offer when we're using these tools they give us. For example, there's marketing that spikes your dopamine through the use of tones and certain sounds and pacing and imagery. Sort of scrolling mindset where you can get stuck on your phone and just scroll and scroll and scroll. It's all done on purpose. And it's all done by professionals that know through massive data that they have what works and what doesn't. And you've got to be able to overcome that with critical thinking. Do I need this product? Do I need to be a consumer? Do I have a short-term mentality? Critical thinking is all about asking as many questions as you can. If you don't ask all the questions, you won't get any answers. You'll just sit there wondering, but you've got to ask. And that's what thought is. Thought is a questioning process to be able to come to conclusions. So ask yourself, am I a consumer? Am I wasting money, effort, and time to get these consumer items, these things, and what am I up against? Why am I doing it? Why do I buy these things? Do you need those new pair of shoes? When's the last time you got some shoes? How many pairs of shoes do you have? What occasion are you going to wear these shoes in? How often is that occasion going to come up? If you don't go to weddings or formal events very often, but a leather pair of lace-up shoes is not in your wardrobe or in your shoe storage, then how often are you going to use it will determine how much you're going to spend on those shoes if you're on a budget, if you don't have a high income. You might say, all right, I can't justify spending more than $200 on a pair of formal shoes because I'm only going to 1 or 2 events a year. If you're a business person in a corporate environment and you wear a suit every day, for sure, spend whatever money you can afford within reason on those shoes because you need them to be quality to be using every day. That's the way I think about everything. If you think about things in a practical way and critically analyze whether you need these things, you'll come to a conclusion. I'll give you the example of strong marketing for things that I don't think anyone needs. It's Temu. There was Wish before Temu. Then recently there's been Temu marketing. Temu everywhere. I'm getting ads for excavators. All these things that I don't really need. I don't need these little inexpensive things from Temu, and everyone will try and justify. Whatever somebody buys, they will try and justify. I'm sure you've been there before where you spend your money that you've worked hard to get on something that maybe you don't necessarily need, but you've given into the marketing. If every day you're getting noise in your ear saying that you're shopping like a billionaire, like the Temu ads, I don't know if they're still running those ads, but they were saying, I'm shopping like a billionaire. That's in your head every day. If you're listening to something, that is almost mimicking a thought, because headphones and earphones are on your head, they're in your ears. It's mimicking that thought. Does that make sense? So whenever you're thinking in your own head, you're hearing, most of the time it's probably your own voice. Maybe there's another voice. In my mind, it's my voice. I've got ideas in my head in my own voice. And it's in the first person. That marketing is in the first person, in your ears. Really, really think about this. This is the critical thinking side of things. A lot of marketing will be in your head through your earphones, and then you're visually looking at it, and it's spiking your dopamine, and it's giving you that sense of fulfillment and excitement, and it's giving you that feeling that you're going to seek. And then you're going to say, you know what? I can justify looking at the app. I can justify downloading it. It's free. I can justify looking and scrolling, and then I find something that, oh, that looks interesting. It's only $5. Before you know it, you've bought 35 things for $5 each, and you've spent $175. And if you do that, not just through one app, but heaps of apps, and you look at marketing and you buy coffees every day, before you know it, you've spent all your money. And it's not just consumerism. It's not just taking away your freedom to do whatever you want with your money, but it's taking away your individual creativity and your individual style. If you give in to all of these pressures, then you're giving away your individualism. And not individualism in the sense that you're independent from society, but you're giving away your uniqueness. Because everyone's following these trends, or the majority of people are following these trends. And I personally couldn't think of anything worse than being a sheep that's copying everyone else, that has the same opinions as everyone else, that speaks the same way as everyone else. There's even just slang. And I know, sure, in a society, you're going to have some things in common, but in Australia, we get I hear a lot of young guys speaking with American slang. It's like, we're in Australia. Why are we getting American slang? It doesn't fit. It's not natural for us to do that, but it's a trend. People follow it and people like it. Now, if we've got these pressures, they can affect how we feel and how we think. And the only way that you can overcome your feelings is through thought. And your feelings can cloud your thoughts. Sometimes it's very hard to overcome what you feel because you've got some sort of defense mechanism or some sort of anxious feeling that you've got to do a thing a certain way. If you're not following the herd mentality, you will feel pressure. In certain situations, you will feel pressure. And the idea is to get used to that pressure until you don't even feel the pressure anymore and you're not actually overcoming anything because you don't care. And I think it's good in some ways to care, but in other ways, you need to disregard the pressure in order to be unique. Thinking is the only way to overpower your feelings. And if you've got a feeling or a thought, really analyze what is the practical outcome of having this feeling or thought. Do your feelings serve you well? Is this defense mechanism actually protecting you from something? Are you doing good when you think about an outcome? Are you thinking your way into good situations? If you've got a feeling that a lot of people have the feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out. And sometimes, more often than not, that FOMO is preventing you from doing something good. And that FOMO is getting you to do something that, if you really think about it, that thing's probably bad. If you've got something to do on a Sunday and on a Saturday night, you don't want to go home on the night out because your fear of missing out on the fun is preventing you from going home when you should go home because the later you stay out, you're going to jeopardize your Sunday plans. Or again, if everyone's doing something on a Sunday, but you're out on a Saturday night, you'll force yourself to go home because of your fear of missing out on the Sunday thing. This fear of missing out is an example of a feeling that you can overcome with your thoughts. Thought is the only way to get rid of FOMO, because FOMO, it really isn't real. If you're missing out on something, you're gaining something else. It's a perspective. It's a matter of perspective. If you really think about it, you're always going to be missing out on things if you think of them as missing out. But as long as you're gaining something, as long as you're not missing out on that thing to go and do nothing, if you're doing nothing or doing something degenerate, then you may as well go and do the thing you're thinking you're missing out on. But sometimes we need to rest. Sometimes we need nothing time. And it's inevitable to miss out on things. But a lot of the time, we're just going to be dealing with missing out on things. So think clearly on what you're deciding to do and what you're deciding not to do. Because sometimes the thing you decide not to do, you feel like you're missing out, but in reality, it doesn't matter. Your FOMO is because it's social. A lot of the FOMO is social. And a lot of the individual things, you don't really get FOMO for. You just say, it's almost like you're procrastinating. So analyze what it is that you're feeling and think with clarity. Overcome the emotion, overcome the pressure, the feeling of missing out, the feeling of fear, the feelings that are affecting your logic, and overcome them with your thoughts. The fear of being wrong. This is a massive one, especially when it comes to thinking and analyzing and coming to conclusions. A lot of people choose to have no opinion because they don't want to be wrong. It's not great to be wrong if you think of it as being wrong. In order to be right, we need to risk being wrong. That's called learning. You need to try something. You need to give something a go. If you just sit back and say, I'm not going to try anything, I'm not going to have any opinions, I'm going to live the safe life until I find something that's been certified by someone else. And if you just live your life doing things that other people have certified and they've got certainty and they've decided on things and you're just a follower, well, you're a sheep. You're just a sheep, mate. And we don't want to make sheep. We want to make men that are responsible for the outcomes in their life. If you've got an opinion or a belief, stick by it and be open to debate it. If you're discussing your ideas with people and you start debating your ideas, especially with your friends and your family, just a very easygoing discussion, not even a formalized debate, but an easygoing discussion, it's going to give you more insight on what influences other people. It's going to give you clarity on where you stand and what your opinions are. It's going to give you a benchmark on what you're up against with opposing views. And some people might be able to expose where you're getting influenced. There's so much to gain from discussion and debate. And yes, your critical thinking skills will improve your perception of others. I discuss my opinions all the time because I believe in them. A lot of people have opinions. They publicly won't show their opinions because they're ashamed, because they might be outside of what the standard is in their community. And they might be afraid of being wrong or the feeling of being wrong. And you might be up against everyone with your opinion, and they might make you feel like you're wrong, but you might not be. You might just be in a place where everyone's against you. So don't be ashamed of what you believe. Because fringe ideas and values and unpopular opinions might be the things that you best align with. If you're in a situation where you've got an opinion and you're in a room where everyone's against you, you've got to be able to be impervious to the judgment, because you're always going to be judged, especially if you're in the minority. If you're in the minority that doesn't think the same as everyone else, of course you're going to feel wrong. Of course you're going to feel judged. But if you back your ideologies and you've got certainty, then it won't matter. Just find new people that agree with you and debate the people that disagree with you. And if you're open about your ideas, if you are very public about what you think, like me, I'm putting my ideas on the internet, people will be drawn to you, especially those that have the same opinion. And then you're going to realize that you're not alone. But prepare to be alone in your beliefs, because it might be a sign that you need to venture out. Find more rooms to be in. If you're the one in the room and you're the only one that likes blue shoes and everyone else likes red shoes, then you might need to find another room where people have blue shoes on. People with red shoes are always going to tell you, hey, the blue shoes aren't good here. You got to get rid of the blue shoes. Nobody likes the blue shoes. They don't even look good on you. How can you wear blue shoes? You need to go out there and buy all the pairs of blue shoes you can and wear them every day and be proud that that's who you are and that's what you want to do. But think about it first. Are the blue shoes good? Are the blue shoes best suited for me? Am I in the wrong place to be wearing blue shoes? Just figure out if you're in the wrong room, and if you need to find the right room, go and find it. It's a very simple thing, but it's not easy. Of course, it's not easy. I've been in situations where I'm the only one thinking a certain way in a certain room. But with critical thinking, if you really analyze, why do I believe this? Where have I gotten these ideas from? Do these ideas match who I am? If you can tick all those boxes and say yes, 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 then you will have a solid foundation of beliefs and nothing can change your mind. The fact is that we always have a choice. I believe it. I believe we always have a choice. You can always choose one way or the other. There's always going to be options. And when you think about really what influences your beliefs, then you'll be able to either take on the influence and let yourself be influenced because you agree with the influence, or you'll be able to reject the influence and say, no, I don't believe this. I don't like this idea that's being pushed my way. I don't agree. I'm not yet convinced. At the moment, I believe blue shoes are good. I'd be open to red shoes if someone can convince me that they're better. But so far, no one's given me a good reason to like red shoes, so I'm going to wear my blue shoes. If you figure out what kind of personality you have and what really triggers you, then you'll be able to resist these pressures and you'll be able to grow and overcome them. Ask questions like, am I gullible? Am I stubborn? Am I passive? Am I dogmatic? Or am I emotionally driven? You've got to be really self-aware to be able to grow. If you say to yourself, okay, I'm very emotionally driven. I've got these certain things that trigger me because, let's say you like the idea of looking cool. Whenever there's marketing that's going to appeal to your emotion that you want to look cool, you're going to be susceptible to that marketing. And you might spend money that you didn't need to spend because you've got that certain personality trait. And you can overcome that feeling through thought use your critical thinking skills to overcome that personality trait, that feeling, because it's just a feeling. And when you think about, why do I feel this way? Where does this originate from? Why do I like to look cool? Well, maybe you didn't look that cool when you were younger and you really want to compensate for that. There could be a multitude of reasons. Just be very critical of who you are and where you come from and analyze that, so then you can defend yourself against pressures that are going to convince you to have certain beliefs and ideas. Objectively put everything on the table and raise your level of awareness so you can make decisions with clarity and certainty. Because life is more fulfilling when we know why we believe what we do and that it is our doing. If you're responsible for something and you've understood that it is your doing and that you've come up with that conclusion and that you are totally responsible for the outcome, be it good or bad or a learning curve or a success, you'll be a lot more fulfilled that that is your doing. Critical thinking builds certainty, and making decisions with certainty is very important, because what comes after that decision is going to be potentially a little bit of hindsight. And if you look in hindsight, you can actually see, if you didn't do that thing, what was the option? If you took the opposite of making a decision, if you went the other way, or it might have been a good or bad outcome, or it might have been neutral. At least you've got certainty at the point of making that decision, so you can say, you know what, I'm owning the outcome because I owned the decision. If somebody else convinces you to do something, or you are convinced to do something because of a societal pressure, a marketing ploy, an individual convincing you, then if the outcome's good, you're not rewarded for that outcome because it's somebody else's doing. And if the outcome's bad, you can deflect responsibility and not be accountable. And a massive part of being a man is being accountable to your actions. If your actions are linked and you put blame on other people or other factors, your individual responsibility is out of the equation. So without individual responsibility, you can't be rewarded and you can't be punished. And I think that we should be held accountable for what we do, especially when making decisions. And be critical of everything that you want to do in life until you reach certainty. Try your hardest to reach certainty. And a thing that I've always done to try and get to a point of certainty is to try and disqualify ideas. I've done this all the time. To get this particular location that I'm filming from, I ask myself all the questions, trying to disqualify this idea. Is this price accurate? Is this price too much, too little? Is the location suitable? Is the space, is the layout suitable? You've got to ask all the questions. Do I have the right things to put in this location? Are the PowerPoints in the right spot? Is the orientation good? Is it on a correct level? Is it on ground level? Is it high up? Ask yourself all the questions to disqualify it. If you fail to disqualify an idea, then you're getting really close to having certainty. I was in sales, and part of my sales tactic and strategy, I'm giving away gold right here. This is gold. If you're in a sales job and you're trying to sell anything, there's a teaching in sales called qualify. You've got to qualify people. Qualify. I tried to disqualify the product. If you're trying to sell a product, try and disqualify the product to people. Oh, are you looking for something like this? Is this good enough for your needs? Is this product does it fit the purpose that you want to apply it to? Is the timing correct for you? You know, this is the time constraint. Show people all the constraints. And if they say, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, now you've qualified them. By trying to disqualify, people will sell it to themselves. And that's what you need to do with your ideas and your beliefs. Try and disqualify them. If you fail to do so, then you've got a belief and you've got certainty and you've achieved enough certainty in order to back yourself and not have regret. Every decision I make, I think about it enough so then I can get to a point, even if I fail with that decision, even if that decision is wrong, if that outcome does not occur, I am certain that I did everything I could with all the information I could at the time of making that decision, that I will not have regret, that I won't have FOMO, that I won't have any of these things that are negative, and I will only look at the positives, and if there's a failure, then I will learn. Always seek the truth, always seek the facts to the best of your ability, and just don't be a sheep.